Berkshire Hathaway's amazing success isn't all thanks to Warren Buffett. Charlie Munger is a big deal in that story too. Munger's special 18% rule is behind their huge profits over the years, beating even the steady money the S&P 500 brings in. Curious how they did it and beat the market? Stick with our video to get the scoop on how Munger helped turn Berkshire Hathaway into a money-making machine. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's right-hand man, has been super important in making Berkshire Hathaway what it is today. He brought a game-changing idea to Buffett that really set Berkshire on its successful path. Charlie Munger's big idea on investing was pretty much like picking the best players for a long game. He wasn't into chasing after stocks that might give a quick buck or getting all worked up with the stock market's daily drama. Munger was all about finding companies that were really good at making money and keeping that up over time. Think of it like betting on athletes who don't just win once but keep winning races for years. He looked for companies that not only had a great score now but also had what it takes to keep scoring high in the future. He pushed for investing in businesses that stand out from the crowd because they can keep making high profits, guiding Berkshire Hathaway to focus on growing over time instead of just looking for cheap deals. This strategy made Berkshire stand out and achieve amazing growth, way better than what you'd typically see in the stock market. His strategy was simple yet genius. It's like focusing on those players in a team who have a knack for winning and can keep pulling off wins because they're just that good. Munger was on the lookout for businesses that had a solid history of doing well, smart people running the show, and something special that set them apart from the competition. By sticking with this game plan, Munger aimed to pick investments that would really pay off in the long run. He showed that if you want to win big in stocks, it's all about betting on companies that know how to earn and keep earning big time. Think of it like two friends racing each other, where one gets a bit faster by 6% every year and the other goes all out to get 18% faster each year. Fast forward 40 years, and the second friend isn't just ahead, they're in a totally different league. That's kind of like comparing two companies. One grows steadily at 6% a year, and the other zooms ahead with an 18% growth rate each year. The company growing at 6% is like the friend who's getting a bit better each year. It's doing alright, but it's not exactly the talk of the town. But the company that's growing at 18%, it's like the friend who's smashing records left and right, creating a huge lead that just keeps getting bigger. This company doesn't just grow, it skyrockets, showing just how powerful it is to grow your money fast. After 40 years, the difference between the two is huge, proving that growing faster can really pay off big time. This story tells us something important. If you pick companies that can grow really fast for a long time, you could end up winning big, thanks to the wonder of compounding. Charlie Munger's smart investing trick, called the coffee can strategy, really got put to the test from 2003 to 2023. This cool strategy is all about picking winners and sticking with them for a long time, not getting all jittery with every little dip or bump in the stock market. They checked out two groups of companies to see how they did. Ones that were really good at turning their money into more money, with returns on capital of 18% or more, and ones that weren't so hot at it, less than 6% returns. The findings were super clear. High flyers, or the companies that were really good at making more money from their money, knocked it out of the park. They didn't just do better than the companies that weren't as good at making money. They also zoomed past the overall S&P 500, which is like the big goalpost for investors. This big win for the high flyers is a huge thumbs up for Munger's idea. It shows that picking great companies and just holding on to them without worrying too much about the market's ups and downs can really pay off. It's a real-world proof that the coffee can way of investing, where you just sit tight with your top picks, can lead to some serious rewards. The coffee can investment strategy came to light in a pretty unique way, all thanks to a financial advisor named Robert Kirby and an unexpected portfolio review. Kirby stumbled upon this strategy when a client's husband, who had been quietly tagging along on Kirby's investment advice for his wife, showed Kirby how much his portfolio had grown. Instead of selling off stocks here and there, the husband took a laid-back approach. He simply let his investments sit and grow over time, not bothering to shuffle them around based on the market's every whim. This approach turned out to be a goldmine. By just leaving his investments alone to do their thing, the husband's portfolio saw significant growth. It was a light bulb moment for Kirby, who realized that there was real power in patience and a long-term outlook when it came to investing. This incident birthed the coffee can strategy, named after the old-fashioned way of stashing valuables in a coffee can and forgetting about them for years. It's all about picking solid investments and then basically forgetting about them, letting them grow undisturbed. This discovery highlighted a simple yet profound investment philosophy. Sometimes doing nothing is the best move of all. Kirby's investment management style involved actively buying, selling, and rebalancing a portfolio based on short-term performance, in contrast to the coffee can approach of buying and holding for the long term without interference. The husband started with an equal investment in various stocks, but unlike the typical rebalancing strategy, he let winners run without reallocating the gains, leading to some stocks significantly outperforming others over decades. The coffee can way of investing is pretty much like betting on a bunch of horses, knowing some might stumble but betting that at least a few will win big. Think about it this way. When you throw some money into stocks, the worst case scenario is that you lose what you put in. But the best case? Sky's the limit. This means even if a bunch of your stock picks aren't stars, you only need a couple to hit it big, to not just break even but to totally smash it. Picture your investments as a bunch of different seeds you plant in your garden, which is your coffee can. Some seeds might not sprout at all, but you're only out what you paid for them. Now imagine a few of those seeds grow into massive prize-winning pumpkins. Those big winners can make your garden, aka your investment portfolio, look amazing, even if some spots didn't grow much at all. This whole idea shows why it's cool to mix up your investments and just let them sit. Over time, a few of them might just take off, growing so big that they make up for any that didn't do much. It's all about playing the long game, betting on the chance that some of your picks will go through the roof, showing that a little patience can really pay off big time. The coffee can way of dealing with investments isn't just some fancy idea, it's got real success stories behind it. Robert Kirby didn't just dream this up. He actually saw it work with the investments he managed and even checked out how it played out over the long haul with big groups of companies. Take Jeremy Siegel's look into the original S&P 500 companies, for instance. He found out that if you just pick at these companies, let your money sit there without messing with it, you'd probably end up doing better than if you were all over the place buying and selling every time the market hiccuped. This chill, set it and forget it strategy is kind of like planting seeds in your yard and just letting them grow without fussing over them every day. Instead of trying to play chess with the stock market, you pick good investments, leave them be, and let them grow on their own time. Kirby's own experiences and Siegel's look back in time both prove that sometimes being patient pays off more than trying to be a market whiz. It really boils down to a simple yet pretty powerful idea. Doing less with your investments can actually bring you more in the long run. The S&P 500 is basically the all-star team of the stock market, packed with 500 of the biggest and coolest companies in the US. You've got tech giants like Apple and Google, big-name stores like Walmart, and huge energy companies like ExxonMobil all in the mix. Because it's got a bit of everything, checking out the S&P 500 gives you a quick peek at how the whole economy's doing, which is why investors love using it as a measuring stick for their own stock picks. On average, folks who invest in the S&P 500 see about a 10% return on their money each year, though it can go up and down a lot in the short run because of how the market jumps around. This steady-ish return, plus the fact that the S&P 500 covers a wide range of companies, makes it a solid choice for people who want to invest but don't want the hassle of picking out individual stocks.
If I had a choice today for a 10-year purchase of a 10-year bond at whatever it is, or 10 years, or buying the S&P 500 and holding it for 10 years, I'd buy the S&P in a second.
Trying to beat the S&P 500's performance is super hard over time. It's got such a mix of companies that it's pretty stable, even when the market's going wild. And since it's always getting updated, ditching the companies that aren't doing so hot and adding in new ones, it stays competitive. For anyone trying to do better than this ever-evolving group of top-notch companies, it's a really big challenge. A lot of people give it a shot, but not many can keep up over the long haul, which just goes to show how tough and resilient the market can be, just like the S&P 500 itself. While the S&P 500 keeps things moving along at a nice, even pace, the coffee can method bets on a few winners that could really take off and bring in way more cash over the long haul. It's all about letting those few big winners grow wild and free, which could end up giving you bigger bucks than the usual market mix. So, while the S&P 500 is the slow and steady route, the coffee can is for those willing to wait for a few jackpot moments that could outdo the market's average game.